Part 54. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 531. Oreki-san wrote the words hitchhiking in his notebook. Because, as long as you collect enough hitchhiking cards and bet them all on the possible first and second place, isn't it legal and reasonable to get another free whoring from the school? Originally, Oreki-san wasn't very interested in points or anything like that, but, now the points awarded are paid for by the school. In other words, the person who was taken advantage of made it so big that he was embarrassed not to accept it. After all, the food is already in your face, how can you not eat it? In this way, during the lunch break, the three giants of exploitation met. Oreki-san just came when he realized he was there, but Horikita and Kushida had already been waiting for a long time. Kushida-san was looking at his phone, but quickly turned his attention away after noticing his arrival. Then walked towards him. Although she has many friends, I have to say that this kind of behavior is still very popular. I'm a little uneasy. The one who spoke was the beloved little angel Kushida. As long as she doesn't go dark, she's quite a sweetheart. A delicate face, pupils that reflect your figure, and blonde hair that has grown to her shoulders. But unfortunately, Kushida-san never wears knee socks. What item card did you get? Oreki said. Although Kushida always looks cute, there are times when she doesn't need to pretend, like now, she always feels like she's in a good mood. Kushida took out his mobile phone and showed the message sent by the school mailbox. Congratulations, you got a very rare invalid card. Invalid card. The holder can take the uninhabited island exam and encounter punishment without paying private points. According to the rules of the Kojima exam, only members of the last 5 groups will be asked to drop out. If you don't want to drop out, you have to pay. The total fine for a group is 6 million. According to the number of people participating in the group, if you are a solo player, you will contribute 6 million, but if you are a team of 6 people, you will contribute 1.2 million. In this regard, if other members in the group have no money, you will also contribute. As long as you pay your share, you will be safe. But Kushida's invalid card was free of charge. In other words, even if he fell into the bottom 5 groups, Kushida didn't have to spend any money, and he was lucky enough to skip surviving on the uninhabited island this time. Moreover, invalid cards are very rare, just like Oreki-san's trial cards. Her luck is indeed overwhelming. At the same time, judging from the smile on her face, it was obvious that the fact that she had an invalid card was known to her classmates. So as long as Kushida got a spot in the bottom 5 groups, wouldn't it be more serious for the classmates? Is it safe? So it's probably because it was enthusiastically touted. However, do they know that it is also difficult to fall into the bottom 5 groups, because they have to accurately control whether they are in the bottom 3, and the class evaluation scores of the top 3 will be compensated in the top 3. So when the time comes, it may cause the class to lose a lot of points. And the students in Class D, obviously, didn't think about it that much. Oreki-san sighed inwardly. Junji has flown over to Class A. Sure enough, there is no future in Class D. You guys have a really good relationship, Horikita Suzun said. You can also read the information on your mobile phone casually. Kushida. Is it really okay for you, Horikita, to say such things? Haven't you and Oreki Houtarou always been like this? However, Kushida suddenly discovered that Horikita seemed to be a little different from before, and there had been some changes in his emotional observation recently. Sometimes he even looks at her with sympathy and regret. She thought something was wrong with her. So it's probably not her problem, but Horikita's own change. So Horikita, what item card did you get? Oreki-san said. In fact, Oreki-san and Kosake Anaga looked at the OAA data for first year and second year students one by one last night, but Horikita-san seemed to be in a bad mood, so Oreki-san asked one more question. What I got was the insurance card, Susan said. Insurance card. In effect, only when you are unwell and may be forced to lose your qualifications for the exam, you can have a buffer day. For it. Kushida is so lucky, but Horikita's cards are so miserable. During the last exam on an uninhabited island, Horikita-san felt unwell. And now, the card I got was also related to physical discomfort. It can only be used if you are in poor health, and its use is only delayed. Oreki-san's mood is also a little subtle. Then let's take a look at the methods we can use in this exam. Have you thought about the additional test rules announced today? Oreki said. Well, I've made preparations. Horikita-san took out a palm-sized notebook. Above is the record she made. The first page is the simplified exam rules. The second page is where the teachers officially notified the effects of the 8 prop cards today. The punishment for this exam is very serious, but with the patching of these 8 cards today, both the dropout rate and the danger have been reduced, Oreki said. But, have you discovered it? Oreki-san said. The business opportunities that lie within it. That is to say. Kushida-san was the first to respond. It was clear that the three of them acted together from the beginning, and Kushida also gained the position of Oreki Houtarou's friend. However, she always failed to get the majority of the benefits of each special examination. In recent times, Oreki-san is no longer interested in making money. According to him, there is too much money. What a statement from Versailles. And now, has it finally started again? Yes, you can make a fortune from this special exam, Oreki-san said. After all, no one thinks he has too much money. And I estimate that we can get about 40 million. 40 million, Kushida said. 40 million, what, is there a problem? Oreki-san said. Kushida, did last year's preferential treatment test also cost 40 million? Oreki. Yes. Oh. Then Kushida started staring at Horikita fiercely. Because if Oreki's plan is 40 million, then according to the previous ratio, Horikita can get 10%, which is 4 million. But at that time, Horikita only had 200,000 when he approached her for cooperation. In other words, it is 5% of 4 million. Kushida was thinking about where he was placed. And this time Oreki-san said. The proportions given to you are all the same. Horikita 10%, Kushida you 10% too. Oh, Horikita-san didn't seem to have much opinion. So what is the specific content? Kushida asked. I was still dissatisfied just now, but now, I seem to be in a good mood. Use prop cards. Aim for the hitchhiking item card, Oreki-san said. Hitchhiker holders can select a group before the exam starts. As long as the selected group is rewarded with private points during the final settlement, then the hitchhiker can also receive an additional half of the points awarded by the school. So this is a legitimate opportunity to rub the school's wool. In fact, the person doing the talking here might not be the school, but Principal Yu Chang. Because the examiner is Yu Chang, and the prop card announced now is the result of the efforts of all the class teachers in the school. And being able to win concessions from Minjio City. So the final buyer is likely to be Principal Yu Chang. Then naturally you can buy big and special. I understand a little bit what you mean, Horikita Susan said. In this exam, the top 70% of the groups can get rewards. Among them, the top 3 groups have the richest rewards, which are 1 million private points, 500,000 and 250,000 points respectively. So it's just a matter of collecting a sufficient number of hitchhiking prop cards. Then place your bets. Then you can get half of the value. The premise is that the bettor can get the top 3. And this is possible. Because both Oreki Houtarou and Kojinji are rare and fierce men. Betting on them has a very high success rate of getting rewards. So, in the best case scenario, if the team you bet on at the beginning can get the first place, then the first place will get 300 class evaluation points, 1 million private points, and add 1 to protect the title. Then we can also get 500,000 points by taking a ride, Kushida-san said. More than that, but Horikita Susan shook her head. It's not just 500,000. According to the reward rules, the top 30% of the teams can get another 50,000 points, and the top 70% of the teams can get another 10,000 points. So the first place can get a total of 1.06 million, then we can share 530,000, Horikita said. More than that, but Oreki-san shook his head. Because don't forget that prop cards can only be worn by one person, at most one of the same card, but they can be paired with different cards. So what if the first place member wears an additional card, Oreki-san said. Basic card, additional, the personal point reward received by the holder is doubled. But it's not enough for just one member to wear this card, Susan said. It will be fine if all the first place team members wear additional cards, Oreki-san said. All students who take the exam will receive a random card. Therefore, it is possible to collect a group of additional card effects. So, that's what happened. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 532. Oreki-san asked Horikita to give him the notebook. Bet on the team to win first place and all wear additional cards. Then the reward obtained by the other party is 1.06 million x2. Other ride-along bets will earn up to half of the income of the bettor. So that's 1.06 million. It looks like there are a lot of them, and that's not all, Oreki-san said. He has a buff stacked here on Hitchhiker. Add additional cards. If the holder of the hitchhiking card adds additional cards, the points gained can be doubled. So as long as the person who bets is good enough to get first place, then everyone who bets can get the 2.12 million paid by the school. In other words, the main point of this exam is to confirm that you can get the top 3, preferably the top 1 monster. Then bet on the other person. And this is common prosperity. You can get up to 2.12 million rewards. Kushida-san looked at the email from the school on his phone. At first she thought she was lucky to get such a rare card. But now, suddenly I felt that my invalid card was no longer good. And Kushida, you've always had good luck, Oreki-san said. You were the preferred person in the preferred person test. And now you have an invalid card. This time the examination on the uninhabited island, which seems to be full of danger, can be regarded as a charity event for the school. And your invalid cards can also be sold. There are always people who are taken advantage of and want to buy them to save their lives. As for the price, it's 500,000, no, 1 million, and then sold. In other words, can Kushida-san also make another fortune? Kushida-san is satisfied. Chapter 241. Yagami Takia, you are just a big mouth, right? After analyzing the results of this exam, the three of them also started assigning tasks. There are 3 main points at present. 1. Obtain or prepare a group that can obtain a large number of personal points. It would be best if this group could get first place. 2. Give this group additional cards to add a double reward buff. 3. Obtain enough hitchhiking cards and additional cards. Then be prepared to bet cents. Don't worry about the first point. Just like Kosake Anagi is so confident, Oreki-san is still very confident about Takahiraji-san. So the bet has been determined. Then the next step is to collect additional cards and hitchhiking cards. And Kushida-san also understands why he can get 10% of the profit share this time. Because each student has 1 card. Although the data on OAA can confirm who has what cards and props. Very convenient. But since you want to collect it, you definitely need to talk and discuss with the other party how many points you will use to buy it from the other party. And this happens to be her area of expertise. As for Oreki-san's communication, I'm sorry. Although he may be friends with some cute girls, most students are very reserved because of President Sakayanagi. What about Horikita-san? Although Horikita's popularity in Class D is increasing, and he has even become the class representative, he can directly take away card props from his classmates in a way that coordinates the overall situation. But she definitely can't do it in other classes. Because her communication is still disappointing. So is this the reason why Oreki Houtarou increased her remuneration? She thought that the relationship between the two had improved, and even pulled her into the same position as Horikita. Turns out, it's because of this. Oh, I only do this when I need her. Kushita's classmates suddenly became unhappy. But there is no reason to push the money out. Moreover, the fact that Oreki has now brought her into a small circle of making money is a sign that he is on her side. So she stayed sweet. But just collecting prop cards from our grade is a bit too little, Kushida said. Kushida has already confirmed that the second-year students' OAA data shows that there are a total of 26 people with additional item cards. And there were 20 people taking the SF Express. According to the best profit plan provided by Oreki-san, at least 20 points of 2.12 million can be produced, which is a huge amount of 42.4 million points in one account. You are so greedy, Horikita Suzun said. I also want to get involved in other grades. Kushida. Hey. Is it really okay for you, Horikita Suzun, to say this? Who was the person who obviously had a plan of 40 million last time, but only gave her 200,000 points? However, in the last preferential test, Kushida fell into a trap and became the person who betrayed Class D. So she has nothing to say. Because this is a confrontation between the whole grade, right? Kushida-san used a beauty attack on Oreki-san. And an attack of this magnitude? It's probably not possible for first-year students, Oreki-san said. I have sold the first grade to Ryuan and the others. And I can put money in it. Oh. So you haven't made any money recently, but have entrusted others to do it? Then as a third grader, Kushida said. But she suddenly paused. Because as someone who didn't just build the Kushida empire among the same students, she acquired third-year students last year, but that was the class of Horikita Gakuen Senpai, and that class had already graduated. In order to make up for this shortcoming, Kushida also contacted the second-year students. But it's a pity. The second-year seniors can only follow Nagamo's rules. Each special examination is concluded by holding a symposium with representatives from the four classes and then considering how to deal with it. Kushida said. So if we want to get item cards from them, we will probably be stopped by Nagamo-senpai. Nagamo-senpai, don't worry, Oreki-san said. He doesn't have many points on hand right now. All his points are used to open a store. Oh. That's it? Then the sheep has been stripped naked, and there is nothing interesting to see. However, I have been ignoring him for a while, so maybe I can harvest him once, Oreki said. Harvest. Suzun had an impression of this word, because it was after Oreki-san had converted all the points in his hand into cash, and then found Ryuan when he was short of points. And now, Nagamo-senpai is also the same as Ryuan in the past. Was Oreki used as a prepared wallet? However, since Nagamo-senpai has no money, how can he still harvest it? Is it taking away the other party's store? Nagamo and his third-year students don't have any points, Oreki-san said. You even have to spend part of it every month to cover the cost of opening a store. So maybe there's a trade with him where he's short and we have the money. In other words, can I also buy the prop cards from the third graders? Although it can only be used between the same grade, the prop card cannot be used across grades, but the exam is together. As long as the seniors or seniors who have the prop card sign a betting agreement, and then follow the instructions to bet, you can also get it from the school. Get rewarded. In this way. Then this is another area that Kushida-san is good at. Because she still came into contact with some senior students. Knowing his usefulness, Kushida took action. Although she doesn't want to be regarded as a tool, but, it is undeniable that she also wants her value to be shown. Because doesn't this mean that you are very useful, so you two guys don't abandon her casually? Just when he was about to take out his mobile phone to contact his senior sister, Wan's brows suddenly frowned. When Oreki-san looked over, she said quickly. It's a disciple of the 8 gods. That's the one who touched the porcelain. While talking, the junior student added that the other party's identity was Penkai. It's obvious that Kushida-san hates this junior. But this time he doesn't seem to be here to touch me, Kushida said. He wanted me to set up a matchmaking process and then contact Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. It seems like he wants to tell Ayanokaji something. Tell Ayanokaji? Or is this the first meeting between the two former White House chiefs? That's right, Oreki-san said. In this uninhabited island exam, although he was still taking the exam on an uninhabited island, he had already divided the exam rewards with Horikita-san and the others. But there are variables. That is by Fang Sheng. And the seemingly harmless Yashin disciple is still the leader among the Bifang students. So, let's sacrifice Ayanokaji-sen first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 533. Oreki-san looked at Ayanokaji's information on the OAA system. The other party got the special card just like him. Trial card. He will probably go solo in this exam, which can become a tool to stabilize Takiya Yagami. Tea restaurant. Kushida-san served as an informant and brought people on both sides together. The location is a relatively empty restaurant. Because they missed the meal, there were not many students spending money here. Yagami Takiya and Ayanokaji chose a deck. Kushida-san, on the other hand, was sitting a little further away from them. To show that you won't eavesdrop. But actually, it's okay to listen together, Kushida-senpai. I don't want to be regarded as a weird and dishonest person by Kushida-senpai, Yagami Takiya said. Kushida. Oh. That's it? So it's none of your business. Don't act like she's her crush. Although he felt unhappy, Kushida remained quiet. Kushida was not interested in Ayanokaji, but he also wanted to catch Takiya Yagami, a loser junior, by his pigtails, and then expel him from school. So let's hear what he has to say. Ayanokaji-san, on the other hand, kept his expressionless expression as usual. We meet again, Ayanokaji-senpai, Yagami Takiya said. I was sorry to observe you a few times before. But I really don't like such unseemly things. Yagami Takiya said. What do you think of Kazuomi Hosen? He attacked you last month. Classmate Baoquan used violence. Kazuomi Hoizumi was the violent junior student in Class D of the first grade who was expelled on the first. In fact, these are the instructions of Principal Yu Chang, Iora said. Principal Yu Chang? Why would the principal arrange for someone to do such a thing? Although he was confused, Kushida still listened. At that time, the rules for the first special examination had just been announced, and Principal Tsukijo gave each first-year class a spot. And students with this quota can bring up to 1 student. So there are a total of 8 students in 4 classes who have received special tasks from Principal Yu Chang. As long as Ayanokaji-senpai can be made to drop out of school, first-year students can get 16 million in cash or 20 million in points. And I am also one of them, Yagami Takiya said. But I always feel that points need to be obtained openly, so I chose to tell you about it. Although Baoquan has dropped out of school, there is no guarantee that other students will still want to do this task. Ayanokaji. Why would you tell me such a thing? Because I don't want to gain points for hurting others, Yagami said. I came to this school and met people I admired, and I didn't want to leave a bad impression. Saying this, the 8 god disciples acted like they were obsessed with him. Kushida. So shut up. Kushida was dissatisfied inside. But this news can be reported to Oreki Houtarou. Then can you tell me the information about the candidate you know? Ayanokaji continued. Sure. Yagami Takia said. First of all, Nane-san from Class D, first grade. And for Class A, there are 2 class representatives. Takahashi-san and Yamada-san. As for my Class C, I received this task at the time, but I didn't call my classmates. I don't know who will be in Class B, Yagami Takia said. That's enough. Ayanokaji stood up and said. This means that this meeting is over. After all, Yagami was the one chosen to participate in Ayanokaji's dropout mission. Although they stopped at the cliff, there was no need for the two to continue talking. And Kushida-chan quickly found Oreki-san. As for this matter, Oreki-san actually already knew about it. It's really remarkable. But since it was Kushida who obtained the information, and she needed to do the work next, Oreki-san comforted her. You did a good job, but you don't need to participate anymore, Oreki said. Then we will complete our response plan for this exam. 2. Other people's business is none of her business. And what this idiot 8 God's disciple says may not necessarily be the truth. Because he just came to touch her. If he had just accepted the assignment from Principal Tsukijo, and then wanted to contact Ayanokaji, he would have first contacted Ayanokaji's classmate, who was her, then he should have revealed everything just now that he was here to touch her. They don't all belong to the same junior high school. But he didn't. It shows that this 8th God disciple still has his own little thoughts. For this kind of person, Kushida just hopes that the other person will drop out of school. Then that's it for now. Oreki-san touched Kushida-chan's head. I hate it. But while talking about being annoying, Kushida-san also started to use his own network. Because now is the time to get down to business. Each student has a prop card. And it can only be traded once. Therefore, before others have any ideas or manipulate blindly, it is true to get the additional cards and free ride cards. If Oreki can get 40 million, then she can also get 4 million, so 5% of Horikita Suzun's original 4 million is really too much. Then, Kushida-san only wants to make money now. The other side. Principal Yu Chang called a special student to his office. So, what are you going to do in this uninhabited island exam? Yu Chang said. His eyes were on the White House chief. The White House chief was not obedient at all. And he would specially call him over, and he also found out that he was contacting Ayanokaji. Just contact Ayanokaji. As a result, it was also exposed that he called on first-year students to drop out of Ayanokaji. It's true that there is more success than failure. This time, I may take action, Yagami Takia said. But before that, I want to test out all the cards in Ayanokaji's hand. Try out all the cards in your hand? It seems that you really want to beat the other party in the items that the other party is good at. That's really stupid. Did Baifang educate such students? I'm very optimistic about your actions. And don't let that adult down, Yu Chang said. I see. So Takia Yagami left here. Ueshin. So you also saw it? It's not that I'm slacking off, but that Baifang Shen is not good at it. Yu Chang opened the small room next to the office, which was the small room where he usually rested. But today, there is one more person here. It is teacher Sima Dian, the head teacher of Class D in the first grade. P.S. I still owe 18 more updates. Chapter 242, Is it fun to eavesdrop on other people's conversations? Senior Nagamo. Tsukijo came here with the mission of Mr. Ayanokaji. Tsukijo was Mr. Ayanokaji's right-hand man in his early years, helping him do many things that the other party would not do. Mr. Ayanokaji relied on his blackness, perseverance, desire for power, and no bottom line. Birds of a feather flock together. Yu Cheng is not an absolutely stubborn person and knows what to do to maximize his own interests. So after Oreki revealed Mr. Ayanokaji's psychology, Tsukijo no longer considers Ayanokaji Kiyotaka to drop out of school as a mission. If he really dropped out of school, he might still be angered by Mr. Ayanokaji. Therefore, all I have to do is to accompany the performance. However, this is trying to figure out Mr. Ayanokaji's mind, but on the surface everyone is here to drop out of school and Ayanokaji Kiyotaka takes the disobedient Ayanokaji Kiyotaka back. So Mr. Yu Cheng has worked hard to show his hard work. This uninhabited island exam is my biggest investment, Yu Cheng said. Even if I get the position of principal, I can't do everything. The school's head teacher resists me, so this time I may have to spend about 20 million in cash to fight for them. And now, the kid Yagami is hiding something. Although he said he would take action, I always feel that something is wrong. Ueshin is based on emotion and action. The expression is not that he doesn't work hard, but that he has fully supported it. At the same time, Takiya Yagami, who could fight Ayanokaji, was not cooperative. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 534. The cash you are talking about is the 8 basic cards notified today, Sima Dion said. Absolutely, Yu Cheng nodded. For this special exam, there must be 5 dropout groups. If you don't want to drop out, you have to spend 5x 6 million points. For this exam, the school will pay for the class evaluation score, but the points will be paid for by me personally. And with the addition of those cards, one person from each of the 3 grades must have an invalid card as one of the final 5 groups. Then students with halved cards are allowed to fill the 2 groups that still need to be deducted points and dropped out of school, so this penalty can only get very few points from the students. But whether it's the top 3, the top 30% of the teams, or the top 70% of the teams, the points expenditure only costs a few million. There is no need to spend 20 million yuan, Sima Dion said. No, it's needed, Yu Cheng said. Ordinary students are not that scary, but I always feel uneasy, so I have to prepare 20 million and put it there first. Is it? Then let's solve it directly, Sima Dion said. Since Yagami is disobedient, it is enough for the adults to appear this time. And I will also take action. In other words, adults are about to enter. So, when the plan fails, not only Iora can take the blame, but also Sima Dion. Yu Cheng is happy to see this result. And the other side. Kushida-san was assigned to contact someone. She was very fast, and within 10 minutes, she had already pulled 2 additional cards and a hitchhiking item card. And the price is very cheap. One ticket only costs 50,000 points. Of course, this is also because the students are still considering that life on an uninhabited island may be difficult, and they do not want to fall into the last 5 groups and be expelled or have points deducted, so they have no intention of profiting from it. Of course, there are also some students who do not think about rules at all. Just want to be able to see the existing points. In this way, Kushida-san continues working. By the end of the lunch break, the second graders had already collected 1/3 of the additional cards and ride-along item cards. Oreki also received a message from Shiina-san to meet in the library after school. It seems that there is something to report about this special exam. According to what she said last night, she thought about this method to make money. Oreki-san seems to be in a good mood. After school in the afternoon, Sakayanagi discovered that Oreki-san had left the classroom early. Kamuro-san, who was sitting behind her, began to report. Classmates reported that Kushida from Class D asked two classmates who had additional cards to purchase them using points. I also want to get the hitchhiking card from Yamamura-san. And the price is pretty good, with the highest price being 300,000. I wonder if she has joined forces with Oreki Houtarou and wants to do something, such as making money or something. As a member of the student council, Kamuro-kun is quite perceptive. I also know that Oreki-san likes to hang out with Horikita and Kushida. And this time, are they also considering whether they can make money and profit from this exam? Is it making money? Don't worry, Kosake Inaga said. Notify the two students who have additional cards and write along prop cards, and they can decide whether to sell them. And Kushida-san doesn't need to stop her. She is still making money for Oreki-san anyway. And Kushida is making money for Oreki-san, so isn't he making money for me, Sakayanagi Yuzu said. This is really a way of saying that people are like wallets. But it comes to her current relationship with Oreki-san. Kamuro-san already understands. Oh. That's it? So you want to marry him? And you also know that Oreki-san got an IOU of 30 million from Class B of the first grade. He almost didn't even look at it before he gave me the ownership rights, Arisu said. And Kamuro's brows moved. In other words, does Oreki-san's act of giving you money make you think that he will definitely marry you in the future? Indeed. Although Banlu received more than 20 million private points. But don't forget, Oreki-san has the authority to exchange points for cash at any time. At the same time, when the third graders graduate, the school will also exchange the graduates' points into cash. So these are money. So, I can give nearly 20 million in cash to a girl at once. No matter how you think about it, it can only be, holding the thought of getting married in the future. So good. But Kamuro vaguely felt that Sakayanagi was too crazy and would fall sooner or later. Library. Beep. Student card. Oreki-san came out of the classroom and came to the entrance of the rather grand library, where he successfully swiped his student ID card. Then I found Hiri Shiina. Unlike yesterday, Shiina-san was wearing grey knee-high socks today. Paired with fair skin, it has a lovely aura. I have to say that Hiri-san is still very popular. When Oreki-san found her, she was reading at her desk, but here on the first floor, not far from her, there were two seniors looking in her direction from time to time. He seemed to be preparing his emotions to go to her. In other words, there are still people who want to strike up a conversation with her. Here. Shiina-san glanced down at the message, and then waved openly towards Oreki-san. And almost as soon as she made this move, one of the seniors who wanted to chat with her left. The other golden retriever is still sitting in the same position. There seems to be some commotion among the upperclassmen. Oreki-san came to Shiina-san and sat across from her. It can be seen that Shiina classmate seems to be a little unhappy. I want to strike up a conversation with a girl in the lower grade. I don't like this kind of thing, she said. Although she knows she looks cute. But I don't have much interest in love affairs. It would be better to say that she actually hasn't even gathered book friends yet. She's probably in third grade, Oreki-san said. I honestly didn't have much experience in dating in the first 2 years, so I hope to gain some experience in the last year. And Kushida said that the success rate of dating in high school is only about 5% to 15%. So it's no burden to break up after graduation. In other words, you have the idea that you will definitely break up, so do you want to have sex with a schoolgirl for free to increase your love experience? What a damn senior class. Hiri looked dissatisfied. Then let's get down to business, Shiina-san said. For this special exam, I suggest Ryuan collect additional item cards and hitchhiking cards. Get points from this angle. But Oreki-kun, you don't seem to be surprised at all by what I said. Obviously it is such a difficult exam, But I want to get points from the exam, Hiri said. When she spoke like this, she was paying attention to Oreki-san's reaction. I noticed that Oreki-san didn't have much expression. Because your idea overlaps with mine, but there are big flaws. First of all, even if Ryuan has already met the first-year students, it is still difficult to directly collect prop cards like this. So you need funds, you need to fool the first-year students, and you need to cash in directly. And you have no money. In other words, I need to borrow money from Oreki-san first. Hee, it's true. Hiri-san showed a cute smile, not embarrassed to be exposed. In terms of cost, it would cost around 10 million at most, Shiana said. And there are only a handful of people in schools with that kind of funding right now. And Hiri continued. Even if you have collected a sufficient number of item cards and bet on your luck, both Oreki-san's group and Takaharaji-san's group will have a chance to get big returns. But she paused. I don't think gambling or anything like that is a good thing. Gambling money is not a good thing. So did you choose not to bet? No. According to the rules of the exam, students with a free ride card can bet on one of many groups before the exam starts. If the betting group is rewarded with points at the end of the exam, then the hitchhiking students can also get a piece of the pie and get half of the points. But there is a risk that the person betting may receive no point reward or very little. And only by betting on the top 3 and betting correctly can you make big money. Takaharaji-san is a recognized monster. As for Oreki Houtarou, he was the one who performed horribly at the sports festival with the student council president Horikita Manabu last semester. He is also an all-rounder. Therefore, whether you bet on Oreki-san or Kojinji-san, you can get very generous rewards. But the point is, who gets first place? Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 535. The first place has the biggest reward, so if you bet on the right place, the first place will be the chicken and the dog ascending to heaven. So, since you are greedy, you naturally want to be greedy the most. So if you can get the information about the first place, then, you naturally want to get it. I want to share the extra 50% of your reward for this exam, Oreki-san said. Okay, Hiri-san agreed directly. Then I also need additional cards, leading cards, trial cards, and ride-along cards from your classmates, Oreki-san said. This is really outrageous. Once again, he got Class C's prop card for free, and then he had to share half of the income. As the think tank of Class C, Hiri received the prop card from the school, and then some students discovered that the prop card of each student was also updated on the OAA system. She did the statistics. This time, the students in Class C were lucky. There were 6 hitchhiking students and 5 additional cards. At the same time, Canada-san also has a trial card. Looks like good luck. And these can all be used as capital. But now, are all these chips going to be taken away by Oreki-san? Only. I understand, it's okay, Shiana said. Because although Oreki-san's asking price is exorbitant, don't forget, this is just an uninhabited island exam. According to the information obtained, the school will make charity once a year. Both class evaluation scores and private points will be adjusted to the max. It is an opportunity for smart students to get paid from here. Therefore, it is very likely that, like last year, there will be an opportunity to gain the most points similar to the preferential candidate exam. Therefore, the current uninhabited island exam is just a side dish. If you can really make money, it will be a follow-up. So, now it's just sweetness. Then it is natural to harvest if you can. And the reward is good. If the first and second place cannot be determined, the final betting team will only get the second place, and the reward for the second place is 500,000 private points. Let me add the rewards of 50,000 for the top 30% and 10,000 for the 70%. and if the second place is given an additional item card, then the opponent can get 56x 20,000. In addition to taking advantage of the opportunity, the betting party also received additional benefits. Then you can also get an income of 56x 20,000. But the first place is 2.12 million. You must have made money by betting on the first place. There are only 20 ride-along item cards for second grade students. However, the school seems to have considered that the first-year students are still new, so this kind of test is difficult for them, so they are randomly given 30 ride-on prop cards. So I still make money. And it's hard to say who to bet on. There was a fierce guy like Hokwan in the first grade, but he even choked Ibuki. It was so cruel. Therefore, it is uncertain whether there will be dark horses among other first-year students after Baoquan drops out. At the same time, in the third grade, Nagamo-senpai is said to have mastered one grade, so his own group may also be very strong, because everyone else in the same grade gives way to him. As for the second graders, Ryuan and Albert are good, but compared to Oreki-san and Takahiraji, it's hard to say. Although I think the final possibility is Oreki-san or Takahiraji, both of them are unusual. Therefore, the way to pass the exam is to place bets, but she cannot be sure who will get first place by betting. In this way, Hiri-san is still as discerning as ever. Chapter 243 Shiina-san has turned evil. Oreki took out his mobile phone and transferred 10 million private points to her on the spot. Hiri confirmed the points and held the phone. Then Oreki-kun, can you tell me who to bet on? Hiri-san's eyes became bright. Although the specific rules for how to gain points on uninhabited islands are still unknown, Oreki-san said. But as a first grader, I have someone I care about. Oh. Hiri-san then started to listen. In other words, there are indeed monsters among the first graders besides Hosen, right? So it's really good for her to be cautious in advance. As for the third grade, although Nagamo-senpai is not a member of the student council, he is still the person in charge of the third grade. So the entire third grade has been given to Nanyun, and the probability of letting Nanyun gain points is very high. So Nagamo's combat strength can be regarded as the entire third grade, Oreki-san said. So, the target of the bet this time is Nagamo-senpai's group, Hiri asked quickly. Maybe not, Oreki-san said. If Nagamo knew that we all bet on him, then he might lose on purpose. That means Nagamo-senpai is unreliable. Shiina-san wrote it down in a notebook. Moreover, even if Nagamo doesn't let go, he is not the best bet candidate, Oreki continued. Although he has a third-year backing, he is still just an ordinary human being. So, I suggest you bet on me, Oreki said. Is it? In other words, I want to bet on you. What you are saying is that even if a third grader cooperates with Nagamo-senpai, he is still a human being, and you no longer a human being. But Hiri was also a student who participated in the last sports festival, although Class C chose to abstain in the end. But she also saw the 1,200-meter relay in the rest tent. I saw 4 monsters appear at that time. The first one is Takeru Sudo from Class D, who is recognized as a bad guy in sports. But Gao Yuanji was even more powerful than him. Then came the climax of the showdown between Oreki Houtarou and the student council president. It's no longer a human being. Later, although Oreki-san lost to the student council president of Horikita Academy, Hiri felt that this might be because the other party did not try his best. So, is that really the case? Oreki-san actually has some reservations. But Oreki-san said. This time for the uninhabited island exam, my bet is on Jyuan Temple. Jyuanji Liasuk. This is a wonder in the history of the founding of the school. Successfully made a solo career from Class D of the first grade. Although partly relying on his status as the only son of the Kojinji Zaibatsu, he collected points from the upperclassmen. but he also performed extremely well. In the last uninhabited island exam, one person occupied more than 30 strongholds, causing Class C and D to search for strongholds everywhere. And Hiri was also a victim in that exam. She was also forced to walk more than 10,000 steps. So it was quite impressive. And now the location of the exam is still the uninhabited island that Jeyuan Temple is very familiar with. Horrible indeed. Later, although Gao Yuanji's classmates came to make up lessons for the classmates, the reputation seemed to have increased a lot. In this way, the person to bet on is determined. Speaking of it, Oreki-san continued. Albert and Kanzaki were there yesterday, so it was difficult for Oreki-san to talk to Shiina-san alone. And now? Have your future ideals still not changed? Oreki-san said. Hiri blinked softly. Nothing has changed. If you mean that I am about to accumulate a large amount of money, will I change? Then it will definitely not change. Hiri-san said. Her ideal is to become a librarian who can read books leisurely and casually. Because being just an ordinary librarian would not be famous enough, her ambition is to become the librarian of the National Library. And will this change because she wants to become rich? Probably, no. After all, having money can make people feel at ease and have a sense of security in life. And she is not the kind of person who is very ambitious, so as long as the amount of money is enough, she can feel at ease. And accumulating about 20 million can just give her peace of mind. That means you still want to stick to the path of being a national librarian, right? Oreki-san said. Yeah, right. Hiri didn't deny it. Is it? Then that's not what Ibuki-san said. According to the information obtained in the precognitive dream, Shiina-san's future and present thoughts are inconsistent. So, what exactly is going on in your future that would make you reverse that idea? Oreki-san thought to himself. But, Oreki, classmate. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 536. Oreki looked over. Is there something wrong with me? You seem to be looking at me very seriously, Hiri said. Oreki. It's nothing, you can go back. There are more people in the library now, so you don't like staying here, Oreki said. That's right. Hiri likes the library, but it's not good if there are too many people and some upperclassmen come to chat with her. So Hiri took her thermos bottle with her and left the library. At the same time, she has borrowed 10 million acquisition points from Oreki-san, so she has to let Ryuan-san start collecting prop cards. After all, Oreki-san also said that there are monsters among the first-year students. The smart plan is to get all the cards in your hand before the monster takes action. In this way, time is money. Shiina Hiri quickly disappeared at the exit of the library. But Oreki Houtarou did not leave. When he came to the library, Oreki noticed that Shiina-san was alone, but there were two seniors who seemed to want to strike up a conversation with her. One of them left when Shiina-san greeted him openly, but the other one did not. Instead, he has been hiding on the back table, one table away from them. Turn your back to them. The other person has yellow hair. After Hiri left, Oreki also pretended to walk out of the library, but when he was halfway there, he suddenly turned around and came back. Is it interesting to eavesdrop on other people's conversations? Oreki suddenly said. Then he pointed out the other party's identity. Nagamo-senpai. Sitting at the back table one seat away, the yellow-haired boy Nanyunya stood up. You were talking too loudly, it wasn't me who was eavesdropping. I'm just curious. Oreki-san, aren't you already dating Sakae-anaga-san? Why do you still have contact with other girls? Nanyunya said. This cannot be denied. After Sakayanagi Arasu became the student council president, the first thing he did to use his powers was, announce his relationship with Oreki Houtarou on the bulletin board. High profile. At the same time, he is very possessive. So, as a boyfriend, Oreki-san really shouldn't have contact with other girls. I treat Shiina-sen as a friend, Oreki-san said. Nagamo-senpai, does your definition of a girl only include girlfriend? Haha, Nanyun kept a polite smile. Because it is almost impossible for a man and a woman to be friends. And didn't you, Oreki Houtarou, do the same thing? There are also cute little Kushida-sen, and Suzune. What a hateful guy. And Nagamo-senpai is here, Junior Oreki said. Isn't it because Shiina-san is cute, and I know clearly that Shiina-san is a member of the student council, so I hope to put a pair of ears other than Kiriyama-senpai in the student council. Nanyun. I did have this idea. He was kicked out of the student union. Although Kiriyama was still there, he had to think carefully about why Kiriyama was there. It's possible that Banliu stayed behind to confront him on purpose. There was also a gap between him and Tongshan. He had promised to canvass the other party's votes before but failed to do so, and all voted for Itanyu. So Kiriyama must think he is unreliable. Although there is no opposition to him yet, there will definitely be a gap. So Nanyun felt that it was better to arrange some of his own people in the student union. But it's a pity that Sakayanagi refused. He arranged for 2 third-year students to nominate themselves, hoping to join the student union, but they were directly rejected. So, since no one is allowed to get involved, he can just deceive people who are already members of the student union. Among them, Shiina is quite cute, and her appearance is not inferior to that of the previous Ichino-senpai. So, maybe you can get in touch. If successful, then the other party can become his eyes and ears in the student union, and can also be used as a backup for his girlfriend. But even before contact, I have discovered that the other party has a good personal relationship with Oreki Houtarou. So, Oreki Houtarou is very annoying. He had no idea at all. Actually, I came to see you specially this time. Nanyunya took out her mobile phone. He pressed out the GPS interface on his phone. Above is Oreki-san's path. Oreki-senpai, what do you mean by arranging for someone to collect my 3rd grade prop card this time? Nagamo said. In other words, Nagamo knew about the arrangement to bribe Kushida-sen with points. So even if you don't meet Nagayun here, Nagayun will still come to your door. So someone in the 3rd grade has already sold his prop card, Oreki asked. No, Nanyun said. Although I am not a member of the student union, the 3rd grade is still in the palm of my hand. The control has not weakened, Naeun said. All students in the school will participate in this island survival test. The 3rd grade is different from the 2nd grade. Although they were notified this morning that they had obtained one of the 8 cards in the supplementary rules. But it's not like a 1st grader has an OAA system. Therefore, no data has been entered. But Nanyun was able to obtain the OAA system data of 1st year and 2nd year students through Kiriyama, who was the vice president of the student union. It was then reported that Kushida-san, a 2nd year student, wanted to buy the ride-along item cards and additional card item cards from among their 3rd year students. He kept an eye on it. Then the statistics were done. It was found that although the cards were issued randomly, 31st year students had ride-hailing cards. There are 43 people with additional cards. Trial, this special card also has 3 people. Invalid, this is equivalent to 1 card owner being exempted from the exam. It looks very rich. In the 2nd grade, there are 20 people with ride-hailing cards. There are 26 people with additional cards. Trial, this special card also has 2 people. But in the 3rd grade, things look a lot worse. There are only 18 people with ride-along cards. And there are only 20 people adding cards. Trial. This special card can only be used by one person. There is a feeling that the higher the grade, the worse the treatment. And he had to think about how to deal with this exam. As a result, Kushida-san asked about their third-year students' inquiries and acquisitions. Because the third-grade data is not reflected in the OAA system, if you want to get their information, you have to go through several circles. Then he reported to Nanyun. The first reaction was, what does Kushida-san want these cards to do? You can't form a team across grades, and you can't use prop cards across grades. Then very quickly, Nagamo arrived. Although Kushida-san looks cute and cute, she is also Oreki senpai's, well, maybe the invisible girlfriend. Then it's not her who wants to acquire these prop cards, but Oreki senpai who wants these prop cards. What can you do with additional cards? It can increase the points reward obtained during the exam. The hitchhiking card can be bet on, and you can get half of the points obtained by the bet object. And connect these 2 points. Once you hit the top 3 bets, you will get huge rewards. And if you can get first place, you will get terrible rewards. Grass. It seems to be a very dangerous survival test on an uninhabited island, but you, Oreki senpai, still want to make money in this test? Junior Oreki silently clicked on his cell phone. I checked Kushida's report. Then why has Kushida-san received replies from 4 third-year students agreeing to the transaction? Oreki asked. Nanyun. Senior Nanyun touched his hair. Haha, that's what I ordered. You can get 200,000 points for an additional card, and you can even get 300,000 points for a ride-along card. Before taking the exam, 4 people sold it for 2 million. Why don't I agree? Nanyun said. It seems that Nagamo-senpai doesn't have much money anymore. Junior Oreki seemed to be sighing. Then the exam this time won't be able to be sold at a good price. As he said this, Oreki-senpai looked straight at him. And this posture is not unfamiliar to Nagamo, it would be better to say that it is super familiar. It's like when I opened the store, when I got the permission to work, and when I took the forest exam. This is how the other party looked at him. Nanyun. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 537. Then. Nanyun looked over and became wary. What do you want to do? P.S. I still owe 16 more updates. Chapter 244. I want to see Suzun win and Sakayanagi cry. Senior Nagamo heightened his vigilance, as if guarding against him. Regarding this kind of thing, Junior Oreki felt that the other party did not need to be so nervous. Because the last 5 groups in the exam will be expelled, and the last 3 groups will not only be expelled but also need to pay the top 3 class evaluation scores. And I think Nagamo-senpai also knows that rule. If the class evaluation points are not enough, the school will make up for it. For other classes, as long as they fall into the bottom 3, they will suffer losses, but first-year Class D will not. Their class evaluation score has been reduced to 0, so they are the most suitable class for the bottom class. And since we are going to let Class D of the first grade sacrifice themselves and directly occupy the last 3 spots, and this is for the sake of all students, then as the representative of the third graders, won't Nagamo-senpai take the initiative? Oreki said. Take the initiative? What are you taking the initiative to do? Taking the initiative to pay? Day. So, are the 2 million you just received going to be gone? Nanyunya felt that it would be better not to come today. What are you talking about? Nanyunya said immediately. Although you yourself are prepared to put the first-year students at the bottom, what does this have to do with my third-year students? The first-year students are not only new, but they are also unfamiliar with the uninhabited island, so isn't it normal to fall into the last 3 groups? So, we third graders don't have to pay, Nanyun said. Really? Oreki said. So Nagamo-senpai seems to look down on first-year students. Then it's okay for me to send this recording to the first year students, and then obstruct the senior class, Class A, third year students out of anger during the exam, right? Oreki-san picked up the phone. And Nanyun also clearly saw that the other party's mobile phone was actually recording. Recording and recording, is this the only trick these underclassmen can do? Of course, although the attack power of first-year students is very weak in Nagamo-senpai's eyes, if they can help Kiriyama-senpai, who is the vice president of the student council, I think they are still very willing. In other words, should we improve Class B of the third grade? Can such a thing be done? Nanyun smiled. Let's not talk about whether Tongshan dares to accept it or not, but can you really do it? It can be done, Oreki said. Because there are not many exams for the whole grade, you can intervene in the exams of other grades. Just one time is enough to reverse the opponent's advantage. Is that so? Are you so confident? Nanyun's mood was very clear. Rather, it is very likely that such a situation will arise. After the teacher chose the test rules, he arranged for someone to contact the first-year students. But unfortunately, the information I got was that the first grader had already been reprimanded. The person who scolded them was second-year Ryuan. And that guy from Ryuan is also a second-year Class C student. Among them, Oreki Houtarou had already passed the second grade when he took the forest examination, so Ryuan is probably Oreki Houtarou's younger brother. Therefore, Oreki-senpai is not only a second-year student, but also a first-year student. So Nagamo himself understood that although he controlled the third grade, Oreki had 2 grades. How can one grade compete with the strength of 2 grades? Is it because he is older? With experience? And these, actually don't exist. Because his third grade students did not do well in exams except for ordinary students who basically obeyed orders. In other words, it's a no-brainer. According to the school, there is no growth. So even as a third-year student, he might not be able to do as well as Horikita's senior class. At the same time, his junior class is small. Part of it is that school exams sometimes lead to dropout exams, which can cause losses. At the same time, in order to get rid of those who oppose him. Therefore, most of the students eliminated are smart and capable. In this way, the current third graders left behind are actually not very strong overall. So, if you really have to fight against 2 grades, you will undoubtedly lose. I asked the third grader to return the 2 million to you, Nanyun said. Then I will give you an additional 4 million points. Your Kushida Kikyo still has an invalid card, right? I will personally pay for each of the 2 remaining places in the bottom 5. In other words, not only are they willing to pay the points that agree with the first-year D class to serve as the final 3 this time. Then he also bought the invalid card from Kushida's hand at a high price, so that the second graders could also get a spot for the 4th or 5th place from the bottom. In the examination group, one person can also form a group. So just find a tool person to transfer this invalid card, and then let that tool person contract the 4th or 5th place to finish. All these expenses were covered by Nanyun. Nagamo-senpai is really kind, Oreki-san said. I will tell Kushida-san. Humph, Nanyun snorted. The 2 million for the 4 prop cards that have been sold to you can be refunded to you immediately. But I don't have the remaining 4 million yet, Nanyun said. Can you speak so openly even if you have no money? Oreki-san's heart was clear. Although it is easy to get the money in Nagamo's hands, Nagamo-senpai will not be so straightforward. So I probably have an idea. For example, this. The remaining 4 million will have to be settled after the exam. You also know my plan for dealing with the special exam. It's about calming down and thinking about the best solution, Nanyun said. Actually no, Nanyun did say that after the exam rules came out, the representatives of the 4 classes sat down to discuss how to maximize the benefits from the school. But that was before, in Nanyun was a little timid, so he was no longer fighting for interests from the third grade position, but was looking for a stable degree. It can stabilize the third grade, and at the same time, it will not take too much from the school and cause dissatisfaction with the school. There is no way, he is not even a member of the student union now. You have to be more reserved. And this time in the uninhabited island exam, you can get a lot of points from the school by using the free ride card to place bets and then stacking additional cards. Nanyun continued. The bettor can be allowed to add additional cards, and the bettor can also be allowed to add cards to the bettor's team. In this way, a maximum of 2.12 million points can be obtained at a time. Although my personal ability is not weak, Oreki Houtarou, which group will you bet on? Nagamo said and looked over. That means Nagamo-senpai also wants to get money from the school, Oreki asked. That's what you said. Senior Nagaun was quite rogue, just tell me whether you want it or not. I don't have points now, and the entire grade also owes points for opening a store, so if I can't get it in this exam, when the time comes, I won't be able to pay you back. So it's not that I want you to reveal information, but that you can only reveal information for your own 4 million points, Nanyun said. At these words, Oreki-san turned to look at Nagamo Masaru, and then walked around him. So do you agree or not? Nanyun was shocked. Add another 5 million. Oreki-san paused and said. It's too much. I can only spend another 2 million at most, but Senior Nanyun said, for this exam, I have to pay a total of 6 million. You want another 5 million, but I will be the one to implement it. Don't you think it's too much to make arrangements? Oreki-senpai. Yes, Oreki-san nodded. It is indeed too much to let the horse run all the time without giving him some grass. Moreover, Nanyun is in the third grade, but he opened 2 stores and has become poor. If you don't let him grow some darts, you won't be able to harvest them. And the conditions for coming to Nanyun to trick Class D of the next grade into occupying the last 3 groups were actually free of charge. This is Ryuan's plan to appease the first graders. He borrowed it directly. So it was a waste of time to have sex with Naeun. As for Kushida's invalid card, she was only allowed to sell it for 1 million points at first. As a result, Nagamo-senpai took the blame and directly paid out 4 million. It's already a waste of money. Look at it this way. Nagamo-senpai is actually a pretty good boy who gives money. Then Oreki-san, whose belly has grown bigger, said. This time my bet is on Rokusuke Kojinji. As you know, he was promoted to my class. He is the only son of the Kojinji Zaibatsu. He has a bright future, but his own strength is also very terrifying. In the last uninhabited island exam, he occupied more than 30 strongholds by himself. Let Class D obtain a full 600-point class evaluation score. He's a fierce guy, Oreki-san said. And this time the uninhabited island exam is his exclusive battlefield. I see. Even Oreki Houtarou would think that Kojinji is very strong. In fact, Jyuan Temple is really powerful. Because he got grades that neither he nor Horikita-senpai could get in the past. But can Kojinji Rokusuke really win first place? Kiriyama, what do you think? After watching Houtarou Oreki leave, Nagamo did not leave, but put his mobile phone on the table. After his cell phone deliberately displayed the GPS for finding Oreki, he actually secretly clicked the call button. The person on the call was Kiriyama. Therefore, Kiriyama could also hear the conversation between him and Oreki. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 538. My opinion. Senior Kiriyama did not reply immediately. This is an opportunity to gain points from the school in an honest way. Oreki controlled the first and second years, and they were ready to plunder the school, so we just followed. However, you can get more than 30 million points. And of the more than 30 million, I have prepared 10 million for you, Nanyunya said. In this exam, in addition to the 5 groups that will be punished in the end, we also need to pay attention to Kiriyama's non-betrayal. In last year's forest exam, 3 grades also competed against each other. In order to support Class B of the 3rd grade, Nagamo blackmailed Senior Horikita, who is the student council president, to name him as the next president of the student council. So do the tricks. Control the points and throw the risk of point deductions to Class A of the 3rd grade. But now there are certain risks in the battle between 3 grades. For example, if Kiriyama turns to Oreki to pray for help, then maybe it will happen, and the risk will all be brought to Class A of the 3rd grade. Nanyun's own class is also in danger. The current 3rd grade evaluation scores are as follows. Grade 3 Class A 2,330 points. Grade 3 Class B 1,300 points. Grade 3 Class C 800 points. Grade 3 Class D 600 points. There is a gap of about 1,000 between his 3rd grade Class A and Kiriyama's 3rd grade Class B. Looks very stable. But there are also terrifying risks of transcendence. For example, if the students from Class B of the 3rd grade occupy the top 3, and the first place uses trial card, then they can get 300 x 1.5 class evaluation points. Second place receives 200 class evaluation points. The 3rd place received a class evaluation score of 100 points. The total is at 750 points. Then as long as his class is framed and falls into any of the last 3 groups, his so-called advantage will be gone. So Neun had to guard against it. He is not Horikita, but he does not have the determination and perseverance to drag a class up. Don't even want to fall. Therefore, the money spent just now was also for compromise and own safety. This is where being in a high position comes into play. 10 million Tongshan seemed to be hesitating. Be mine, Neun said. When I graduate, I will sell the store and I will replenish it for you at that time. In other words, Nagamo was determined to give Kiriyama a ticket to fly upward. I understand, Kiriyama said immediately. Actually, Kiriyama reported on the actions of the students in his class. Some students hope to seize this opportunity and surpass Class A, or even replace Nagamo's position. And this is why they found out so quickly that Kushida-san contacted them to get the item card, and immediately agreed. Yes. The 4 additional and hitchhiking item cards that Kushida bought were from the 3rd grade Class B. Although Nagamo pretended to be relaxed in front of Oreki-senpai and said he was selling it for money, in fact it was the 3rd year Class B student who did it privately. The purpose is to hope to connect with the 2nd graders. Then he helped stop Nanyun's 3rd grade class A during the exam on the uninhabited island. And this is really hummed up. Nagamo was actually just trying to appease Kiriyama as usual and take precautions, but it turned out that these guys were really planning to cause trouble. Soon, Neuna left the library and met Tongshan in the dormitory. The two directly signed an agreement IOU worth 10 million points. This was always a blank promise, but now I have to actually write it down. And this naturally comes at a price. Kiriyama doesn't have a strong sense of belonging to Class B of the 3rd grade, and all he wants is a ticket to graduate from Class A. There are actually people in Grade 3 Class B who want to cause trouble, so Kiriyama needs to betray him. Then he kicked Class B of the 3rd grade directly. However, what Nanyunya signed was too easy. He deliberately waited at the door of the 1st year student dormitory. He also signed additional EIS totaling 11 million. In the original negotiation with Oreki, he only offered 200 add 400 add 200 equal 8 million. But now another 3 million has been added, which is the price that Oreki Houtarou initially asked for. The purpose is also to ask Oreki Houtarou to stop interfering in the 3rd grade exam. However, he probably didn't wait for Oreki, so he gave the IOU to Horikita-senpai Suzune. Although Sakayanagi is Oreki Houtarou's girlfriend. But Banliu is really hard to believe. Nanyun was deeply disgusted. At the same time, Nanyun was also thinking maliciously in his heart, it would be great if Suzun won in the end. I slightly wanted to see that over-the-top guy Sakayanagi crying. In this way, amid the ill will of some people, the exam on the uninhabited island officially began. Chapter 245 Mr. Ueshin, are you ready? May 20th. All students were informed that they could only bring personal belongings, as well as a change of sportswear, mobile phones and tablets, and they all boarded the bus to go to last year's luxury passenger ship, the Hedgehog Cat. Everyone is familiar with the road. This was experienced once last year, but unlike last year, the second grade class is full this year when taking the bus. Arisu Sakayanagi, who was feeling unwell, also boarded the bus, preparing to take the exam with everyone. Of course, it is almost certain that this uninhabited island test will test physical strength more than intelligence, so her physical ability can hardly be considered, and she will probably stay at a supply point such as supplies. But the key is participation. And, the students in this exam span 3 grades, and the composition of the students participating is complicated. Although the class's main hope is Oreki-san and Takahiraji, there may also be some students from other classes causing trouble. In addition, students in your own class can also clear the way for the seed team, which requires someone to direct them. So at this time, Sakayanagi-san's role came to the fore. Only. My eyes really hurt, Kamuro Maesumi, a student from Class A, thought to himself. The seats on the bus are 3 seats in a row on the side facing the driver, and 2 seats on the other side. And here she happened to be sitting in the first 3 seats of the driver's back seat, sitting on the backrest. On the left are Sakayanagi Yuzu and Oreki-san. Kamuro-san looked away, but the scene just now was still quickly displayed in his field of vision. After getting on the bus, Sakayanaga's left hand began to grasp Oreki-san's fingers on the armrest. Speaking of Sakayanagi Arisu, everyone is closing their eyes and concentrating. Don't you think it's bad for you to harass others like this? But this is also the only high-profile couple in the school, so there is nothing wrong with even being a little intimate. However, only Oreki-san, who closed his eyes and meditated, knew that Sakayanagi was not in good health, so he was not allowed to participate in the last uninhabited island exam. This time she won the permission to participate, but Oreki was still more concerned about her status. Therefore, if she is allowed to sit next to him, her body can be restored to its safest state through superpower recovery from time to time. There are 2 limitations to achieving this effect. 1 requires physical contact with the user. 2 it can only restore the body or items to the best condition within a week. Therefore, due to the existence of conditions of use. As for her wanting to touch his hand, that's up to her. Otherwise, if he took the initiative to touch her hand, it would actually appear that he was very hungry. Katsuragi-san. In the back row, the tall Katsuragi sat down. Although his son Yahiko dropped out of school, Katsuragi still had a few supporters. But these supporters were arranged by Katsuragi-san to contact people in the shopping street these days. It's now online. With a lot of money, the informant was willing to take advantage of his vacation time to complete the task. However, when I went out of my way to contact the people at the shopping street, I thought Katsuragi-san was doing it for. In the end, the goal was, people in the shopping street were needed to bring back some family planning supplies when they came back from vacation. Yes. As class A is the best at gathering information, the students in the class have discovered that since President Horikita left, some of the school's regular stores that sell family planning supplies no longer stock them. Although it is not good for soldiers to doubt their superiors, Katsuragi-san arranged for them to do this kind of mission. Everyone felt that Katsuragi-san was a little too horny. Then, now while you all still have energy, let's start announcing the rules of the exam. After the bus went to the port, everyone got on the luxury liner, but all the students were asked to gather on the deck. Students are arranged according to grade and class assignment. Teacher Majima, the teacher of 2nd grade class A, stood on a step in front with a loudspeaker. First announce the list of groups. And you can also search on your tablet. There are a total of 150 groups in this special examination, including single-person groups to four-person groups. To be specific, only first-year students are allowed to form 36 groups of 4, 61 groups of trios, 32 groups of pairs, and 8 groups of singles. 5 of these groups will expelled from school. And the last 3 groups need to pay class evaluation points to the first 3 groups. You can obtain the specific content by updating the data in the OAA system. These are already known rules. When you turn on the tablet, click on the OAA system and find that a new installation package has appeared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 539. After the update, you will find that the information of 3rd grade students has been added to the OAA system. Not only that, there is also a list of groups. And Mashima-sensei continued. The next thing I want to talk about is what you are most concerned about, the specific examination rules on the uninhabited island, and how to determine the ranking. Ranked by points scored over 2 weeks. One of the important scoring categories is basic movement. The entire uninhabited island is divided into 10 equal parts on the horizontal and vertical coordinates into a specific square area totaling 100. Students need to be directed to certain areas every once in a while to earn points from this rule. For example, if the departure point is area D9, then assume area C8 is designated as the moving location. You need to go to area C8. Anyone who arrives within the specified time will get 1 point. However, since you are asked to form a group, there will naturally be rewards for forming a group. There are also rewards for the order in which the entire group arrives. The first 3 teams to arrive at the designated area will receive 10 points for the first place, 5 points for the second place, and 3 points for the third place. In other words, if a 3-person team reaches this area, they can get a reward of 1x3 add 10 points equal 13 points. The order confirmation is based on the arrival time of the last member of the group. So what if it's a solo? Just arrive alone. You can get a reward of 1 add 10 points. Teacher Mashima continues to popularize science. As for this basic movement, except for the 1st and 14th days, where 3 designated areas appear, the other days have 4 areas refreshed every day. The areas that are refreshed follow a pattern. Among the 4 times a day, 3 of them are centered on the last designated area of the previous day, and are again designated within 2 squares on the front, back, left, and right, and 1 square. Oreki-san clicked on the map of the uninhabited island that appeared after updating the OAA system. According to Mr. Majima, the area you want to go to is regular. If there are 2 squares in the front, back, left, and right, and 1 square diagonally, moving does not seem to be difficult. Since the stipulated time is to arrive within 2 hours, you can imagine that it will be quite leisurely. However, the designated area is scheduled to be visited 4 times a day. In other words, the remaining 1 does not apply to that law. Really? Mashima-sensei continued. Only the last time of the day does not fit the pattern just now. The 4th designated area is random. For example, if the 3rd designated area of the day is D2, then any other area may become a designated point. In other words, designated areas that are quite far away may be randomly selected. For example, if you move from the far north to the far south, you probably won't be able to get there in 2 hours. Then it will be difficult to score. Then there's the point deduction, Teacher Mashima continued. Points are deducted according to the group if all members of the entire group fail to arrive at the designated area at the designated time, and this situation continues 3 times. On the third time the group members fail to arrive at the designated area on time, 1 point will be deducted from all members. If it is 4 times in a row, 2 points will be deducted at a time. 5 consecutive times means 3 points will be deducted at a time. As the number of ignores is superimposed, the punishment will increase point by point and there is no upper limit. So I don't recommend you to mess around or take advantage of it. As long as one of the team members reaches the designated area and gets points while being deducted points, the accumulated points deduction mechanism will be terminated. However, if it continues to fail to arrive or is broken 3 times in a row, it will continue to repeat. Points deducted. And these rules can be simplified. In fact, Oreki-san was standing in Class A, and he could already see Horikita-san, who was standing at the front of Class D not far away, already editing and simplifying with his mobile phone. Probably want to send it to classmates in bulk. Yes. Even though Mr. Majima said so much, some students already had bitter expressions on their faces. Not to mention the cute first graders. Not only was it their first time to face such an exam, but they were not familiar with the uninhabited island, and they had never seen it before. However, they were required to go to the designated place and run around according to the rules every day. However, Oreki didn't think Horikita needed to work so hard. Because this is a school-wide exam. Lasts for 2 weeks. If students can't even understand the exam rules, how can they take the exam? Really? You guys take out a pen and write it down, Teacher Mashima said. The simplified rules are like this. Summary of rules for basic movement. 1. The designated area will be informed 4 times a day, 3 times on the first day and the last day, no random designation. Arrival times are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. 2. The first 3 times of the day in the designated area are regular, and the 4th time is random. Note, areas that have been randomized will not be randomized again. 3. Each person who arrives in the designated area on time will get 1 point first. If all members of the group arrive, they will get extra points. 4. If all members of the team fail to arrive at the designated area for 3 consecutive times, they will be punished. So please don't fish. It's like moving and punching in according to the school's instructions, Teacher Mashima continued after confirming that the students had recorded the simplified rules. What is considered is the physical fitness of the students. But as I said before, it's not just about physical fitness, but also about luck and various skills. So some students who are not very physically fit are also given a plan to gain points. That is to get points for completing topics set up in many places on the uninhabited island. Sessions will be held anywhere from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at any time. The subject will be displayed on the map of the uninhabited island on your tablet. It will appear as a red dot. The topics are random. You can't predict when the red dot indicating whether there is a topic will appear, where it will appear, and what kind of topic it will be. Once a topic appears, you can click on it through the tablet, and the content and rewards of the topic will appear. The content of the subject is composed of 40% academic ability, 30% physical ability, and the remaining 30%. For example, topic, close category, academic ability. Participation conditions, register within 60 minutes after the topic appears. Number of participants, 10, only 1 person in a group can sign up. The deadline is when the registration reaches 10 people or the registration period ends. Victory conditions, complete 30 reading comprehension articles within the specified time and compare the scores obtained. The content of the test varies with grade levels, but the difficulty is adjusted to the same level. Reward, 5 points for first place, 3 points for second place, and 1 point for third place. and the winner will receive a day's worth of food. The number of topics refreshed every day ranges from 5 to 10. In other words, even if you are weak on your feet, you can still get some points by participating in the tasks. And the issue arises. However, it should be noted that once the subject starts, it will disappear from the tablet only when it ends, so when you arrive, you will encounter a situation where registration has ended. Oh. In other words, is the trip in vain? That would be too cruel. Then there are the issues you care about that can form a large group. This is the reward for the project. At the beginning of the 4th day, the reward for the project will be released. To obtain the reward of forming a large group, you can apply by operating the tablet. The successful connection of the tablets of both parties means the successful formation of the large group. However, it should be noted that once the team is formed, the existing scores of both parties will be divided equally, Teacher Mashima said. So it's a risk for students who get high scores. But Oreki-san recorded this function. Afterwards, Mr. Majima directed the head teachers of each class to distribute bracelets to students for monitoring physical health and safety, just like the last exam on an uninhabited island. Probably because the students need to live on the island for 2 weeks, so they naturally have to pay attention to safety. An alarm has also been added. Once a student is unwell or in danger, the alarm will sound. If the student does not deal with it, he will lose the qualification to take the exam. At that time, the staff will go to the student's location to wait for the student who has lost the exam or to rescue the student who is in danger. Dangerous students. Therefore, the bracelet is not allowed to be taken off. If the bracelet fails, you need to return to the starting material point for replacement. Everything is ready. Before departure, each of the students received 5,000 material points and could go to the material point to exchange materials. Well, the core part of this uninhabited island exam will soon come. That is to use prop cards. Commonly known as Liu City Principles Wool. Chapter 246 Long Yuan, you have given me a shadow. Teacher Mashima was responsible for explaining the specific content of survival on an uninhabited island. However, the examiner, Mr. Yu Chang, has not yet spoken. Therefore, after simplifying the exam rules in detail, Mr. Majima got out of the way. The specific exam time will start 1 hour after the ship arrives at the uninhabited island. At that time, first-year students will be allowed to disembark first and take the boat to the starting point, Principal Yu Chang said. Is this taking care of first graders? Then disembark in the order of second-year and third-year students. There are 12 itineraries in total. They will be transferred to your tablets respectively. The itinerary of the team members will be the same. And once you form a large group, the itinerary of the large group will also be changed to be the same. However, Principal Yu Chang said with a business smile, but there are a few things that you need to be able to do. This uninhabited island exam should be an unprecedented large-scale special exam. It goes without saying that you should be nervous, but when you challenge the exam, please don't forget your consciousness as a student. Principal Tsukijo said so. Oreki-san and Itayanaga stood at the front of the second grade Class A. But Oreki clearly felt that Principal Tsukijo's eyes seemed to be glancing here. Then he quickly took it back. That is, the school stands to protect all students and will monitor safety and order as much as possible, Yu Chang said. But on this uninhabited island exam, surveillance eyes still cannot reach all places. One of the most common problems is the sensitive issue caused by the difference between men and women. So if a sexual dispute occurs, we will not hesitate to issue severe punishment including expulsion from school. If we judge that the behavior is bad, we will also report it to the police. Please don't forget this. These expressions are very straightforward, and they are natural confirmations. Students should never do such things. But why are you looking at him and Sakayanagi? Is it because he and Sakayanagi are recognized as high-profile couples in school? But I won't do anything directly on the island. Although I think so. Oreki-san used his ability recovery again. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 540. The expression on Sakayanagi-san's face did not change. Obviously. Sakayanagi-san's health is fine now. But when Principal Yu Cheng announced that boys and girls were prohibited from crossing the line, she seemed to pout in dissatisfaction. So, what are you thinking about? You came to the uninhabited island specially, not because you regretted not taking the last uninhabited island exam, but because you had other plans. Principal Yu Cheng continued. Then, there are also some prohibited things. The longer you stay on an uninhabited island, the more frustrations you will naturally accumulate. Students may sometimes have small conflicts due to insufficient food or insufficient water. Of course, the rules cannot allow students to plunder or use other people's possessions without consent. Depending on the case, in addition to being immediately withdrawn from the exam, the student may also be expelled from school depending on the situation. At first glance, these rules are similar to those of Hosen, who wanted to make illegal operations, causing Ayanokaji to drop out of school. It was a hole specially dug for Ayanokaji, who dropped out of school. Oreki-san is not interested. After Principal Yu Cheng gave his speech, he left time and space for the students. The ship still has more than an hour before arriving at the island. Because it is an uninhabited island test that lasts for 2 weeks, it is also considered that most students do not have much experience in wilderness survival. Therefore, each student is also provided with 5,000 material points, which can be exchanged for materials, allowing students to survive on an uninhabited island with reduced difficulty. Therefore, tents, mineral water, flashlights, mobile power supplies, pots, lighters, paper cups, portable food, walkie-talkies, etc. will be provided. And these, like last year, require material points to purchase. For example, a tent costs 600 points. 550 ml of mineral water costs 50 points. And this is probably what all students need to choose. However, there are also some free items, such as personal toiletries, sunscreen, sanitary napkins, insect repellent spray, backpacks, etc. Among them, just like last year's uninhabited island exam material exchange, a material point will be set up on the island. Various materials will be sold inside, but they need to be redeemed with material points. However, the materials on the island will be twice as much as on the ship. If you buy too much on board at once, the luggage will be heavy, which will also affect your movement. Therefore, it is also a difficult choice to choose luggage and whether to buy it at a high price on a small island. These material points can also be used on tablets. It is said that on the 6th day of the exam, the scores of all groups will be disclosed. A GPS positioning will also be provided. You can use points to search for other people's locations. So points also need to be saved well. But Oreki-san doesn't need to think about these things. Sakayanagi will prepare it for him. Sakayanagi gathered the prop cards of the students in the class and distributed them. So what Oreki has is the additional reward double card, the trial class evaluation score gaining X1, 5X card, and the leading item card. So his material points are 5,000 x 1.5 equals 7,500 points. But don't forget, this is Class A. He does not need to spend this material point. Immediately, some students gathered together and took care of Oreki's belongings. This kind of thing is left to the steady Katsuragi-san. And the same equipment person is Gao Yuanji classmate. He and Kojinji both fall into the solo category. Haha, as for me, you don't need so many things, you don't need them. As a savage who once landed on an uninhabited island alone in the middle of the night, Yuanji-san is quite arrogant. For him, coming to the uninhabited island is like coming to his private beach. However, there were various supplies on the island last year, but this year, maybe they have been disposed of. Otherwise, it would not be appropriate and students would need to return to the material point on the island to exchange materials or participate in various subjects to obtain rewards for some daily items. All students can exchange materials. The price of supplies will double after disembarking, which is excessive. So the students were a little anxious. Considering the issue of order, third graders are allowed to complete the material exchange first, and then second and first grade students are allowed to complete the exchange. This also gives lower grade students more space to think. Oreki-san didn't need to worry about supplies, so he had plenty of time to come to the deck. The exam begins when we disembark, so everyone still has some time. But he thought of a small way to make money, so he came to Class D's camp. But not for anything else. After discovering him, Horikita Susan quickly walked towards him. The relationship between Horikita-san and Oreki-san is really good. Some students noticed this. Yes, Kusita said. Because there were many people and many eyes, she couldn't go directly to Oreki Houtarou. So I had to stay calmly. But others were somewhat indifferent, because Oreki had personally told her that he would marry Horikita in the future. So, this relationship cannot be described as good or bad. But, Kusita-san, thank you, thank you. Next to little Kusita was a girl with slightly rustic pink twin tails. This is Sakura Eri. Kusita gave her invalid card to Sakura-san. The theory is that considering the danger of this exam, the props were strategically given to her. I hope Sakura-san can do a solo. Kusita uses a strategic approach, and invalid cards can be exempted from penalties. So as long as Sakura keeps an eye on the time and doesn't end up in the bottom 3, but in the 4th or 5th place from the bottom, she can give up. This means that Sakura needs to occupy a spot in the bottom 5 groups. But for Sakura-san, listening to Mr. Majima's explanation of the real rules will also take into account academic ability, luck, and other skills. But it is undeniable that physical exercise is her weak point. So she always felt that she would be at the bottom in this aspect. Therefore, even if she was not strategically used to occupy a seat, she was sure that she would be at the bottom of the exam. So, Kusita-san is such a good person. This is not the case. On the last 2 days of the period during which item cards could be traded, Oreki took out an IOU worth 11 million from third-year Nagamo-senpai. Previously, it was hoped that Kusita would make $1 million by selling invalid cards to others. And now, since Nagamo-senpai has taken the contract, he can designate the students who will be the last to take the contract. Therefore, you can selfishly give this quota to the students you care about. Kusita initially planned to give the invalid card to his best friend Wangmayu to gain her favor. As a result, Oreki chose Sakura. So the person you care about, Houtarou Oreki, is Sakura? Aren't you a lolicon? No, Sakura-san is very cute after all. Although he was thinking about other things, Kusita-san said with a smile. But, cute, Eri seemed to be very embarrassed. But this reaction feels like raising a small animal. Now I can somewhat understand why President Sakayanagi set Sakura's student council position as the mascot. I have thought about this exam. My points are 5,000, so the luggage I plan to buy is a tent, 2 liters of water, 3 bottles of 500 ml water, and 12 portions to carry food, flashlight, power bank, pot, lighter, paper cup set, a total of 4,960 points. There were only minimal toiletries and plenty of space in the backpack. Even if you complete the task and receive additional rewards, you should not have any trouble carrying it around. Lingian said. That's not what I meant, Oreki said. Not here to check on the supplies you want to buy. But you care about supplies, so that's right. Horikita was puzzled. Soon, there will be supplies that will not be lacking on the island, Oreki said. Remember what we did before the last uninhabited island exam started? And now we are also looking for Long Yuan. Are you looking for Long Yuan? The night before the last uninhabited island exam, Oreki found Rokusuk Kojinji. An agreement was reached. When the exam officially started the next day, he found Long Yuan and sold it to Long Yuan. Only. Horikita began to think. And now, is there any news that can be sold to Long Yuan? Of course there is. Ryuan, Oreki Houtarou is here. Class C in Long Yuan did not go to the material sales point on the ship to exchange materials. Instead, he personally informed the students in his class about the rules of the exam. Most of the students in his class have no brains. For example, Ibuki was mentally retarded before, so he had to be specially warned. But soon, Ishizaki, who was responsible for guarding the side, came over to report. Long Yuan quickly looked over. I'm here to sell information, Oreki-san said. And Long Yuan, do you have enough points in your hand now? Long Yuan. Day. Oreki Houtarou's words cast a shadow on Ryuan. In the past few exams, he bought the other party's information. Although it was very useful, he couldn't get anything back every time and always lost money. Shiana, go and take a look, Ryuan directly commanded Hiyori.